Nick, when people ask us what this podcast is about, I always tell them that it's mysterious and important. What does that mean exactly? I have no idea.
Welcome to the Severed Floor, free watch play.
Yeah. We're here for bonus episode number 4, doing a mid-season check-in for Severance, which is not at all an adaptation, but the rules were made to be broken and we can talk about whatever the hell we want. Nick, very briefly, where can people follow us so they can enjoy all of our episodes equally?
But before we get to that, there's so much in what you just said. You know, I love to break the rules that I set and we've arbitrarily made. You're right to the break room with that intro. Right to the break room. And not this new fancy break room from season 2, the season 1 break room.
Season 1 break room.
Yeah, you've earned it. You owe me 379 apologies.
Yeah. And guess what? I'm not going to mean it. Going to be Heliar in there resisting.
Even she gave in eventually.
She did give in.
Yeah, so if you enjoy what you hear here, that works. And you want to check out, our normal show, Read Watch Play, you can find us on Instagram at Read Watch Play Podcast or readwatchplaypod@gmail.com. Might have got those backwards. Randy will correct me if I did. And make sure you follow us on Spotify and Apple for all of the latest episodes and news.
Love it. If you're listening to this, I'm assuming you have watched Severance or are watching Severance. If not, definitely going to be spoiling season 1. Definitely going to be spoiling the first 5 episodes of season 2. And I'm assuming you know what this show is about. If you're a psycho and you're just listening to this anyway, 1, thank you for listening, even though I just called you a psycho. And 2, Severance is a TV series on Apple TV created by Dan Erickson. It is executive produced and primarily directed by Ben Stiller, starring Adam Scott, Zach Cherry, Britt Lauer, John Turturro, and Tremel Tillman. Not going to give a full recap here, but if you are listening to this to see if you're interested in watching the show, which I would cut off after I give you this.
You are.
Yeah, you're probably watching it. Psychological workplace mystery show where the people in this world can sever their identity, so a version of themselves goes to work in their place and they have no memories of that when they leave. Nick, we are 5 episodes into season 2. How you feeling about Severance season 2?
I was really worried because season 1 was so good, and then episode 1 of season 2 of Severance was a little bit slower for me. But then, I am just, you say you're working for the weekend. I'm working for Friday night when we watch Severance. Like it's everything to me right now. Are you in the same boat? Or are you?
Yeah, praise Kier. This has been a truly, I think it's just been excellent so far. Season 1 was excellent. We gushed about that. And I think what I enjoy is I feel like everything has felt like a surprise and not in like a bad way, but it's almost every episode begins. I have no idea what's going to be happening. I have no idea where we are. Timeline wise, I sometimes don't know when we are. And I think the performances have been so good. And I've said on here before that I'm a character driven person. So it is most important to me to enjoy who I'm spending time with. But on top of that, you have an amazing puzzle box mystery, which I also love. And just some real sauce in the aesthetics of this show. And it's hitting on every level for me right now. And I do have a lot of questions on where we're going through the rest of the season, which I'm excited to tuck into with you. Because, it feels still just wide open. I'm not really sure where we're heading in Severance.
Nope. Not at all. Not at all. You want some pew-pews and then we'll get into it?
Let's do it. We're going to hit big ones right off the top. Favorite episode thus far?
The last one that just came out.
It was so good. It was very good. Yeah, what'd you like about that episode? Because it is coming after a big one.
I liked the return of Heliar and the dynamic between her and Mark. I found very intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize how much I missed Heliar as opposed to Helena.
I mean, I think, people definitely were sussing that out, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, even Michaela and I were both like, I'm pretty sure that's Helena, right? It
Mhm.
just something was off. And when you go back and look, it's very obvious,
Yeah,
which I think is a testament to the acting of this show.
totally.
But the way it drove Irv's um, storyline, I'm I'm now so invested in Irv. And then you see him and Bert meet in at the end, and the last episode, he's going to go there for dinner. I'm pumped for that.
Yeah, I'm like, who is Fields? Like, what is
Yes.
going on here? Yeah, I agree. Just seeing Helly walk out of the elevator and like kind of like that aggressive stomp walk she does, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Helly. That's not Helena.
Dude,
Britt Lauer is just so underrated. I think unbelievable in terms of her acting in the show. It's just so good.
think about Heliar's like 24 hours. She
Traumatic.
kisses Mark, gets on an elevator, wakes up where she realizes that she's an Egan, and then tries to bring the whole thing down. The last thing she remembers there is being tackled. Then she wakes up and Irv is trying to drown her. And then she wakes up and she's in the fucking elevator again.
Yeah, she's
And
back.
no wonder her fists were clenched. I'm surprised, like her whole body wasn't just like rigid.
Yeah. And she's just feeling so hurt that like no one could tell it wasn't her, which has to be like it has to make you feel bad. Like that Mark did not know it was her or
Yeah,
Helena. And she's also feeling, I think, upset that people just they're very not Zach, his Dylan. Zach is his real actor name. Dylan and Mark are very consumed with their own things with Milchek that they're not really being like, are you okay, Helly?
right.
And everyone is just kind of all over the map in the aftermath. Um, that was great. I think Woe's Hollow is the obvious choice in terms of like ambition of the season, but yeah, I'm fully on the Irving train. We have loved Irving since season one, and that last 15 minutes of him foiling the Helena Helly stuff in episode 4 was just so good. And
He's your favorite innie?
I think Helly might be my favorite innie, but I love Irving B. And just when he calls him Seth in episode 4, when he's like, do it, Seth. And he's just screaming like she's a fucking mole. I was like, John Turturro in general is just unbelievable.
Nailed it.
It's just so good. Um, and I think something good with with the Woe's Hollow episode is like, you think, can this world and this story work when things expand a little bit and it gets bigger? And we really stepped outside the comfort of Lumen and those white walls and the abrasive lighting, and the show still really worked. And man, yeah, I think if gun to my head, Irving's my favorite innie. Who's your favorite innie?
Irv's a close second to Helly for me. Also, Dylan
Helly's
as comedic relief, though, is
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. Fuck, I am so mad that I didn't open this with telling you to suck a fuck. That would have been just so on brand. I was like, the shit that comes out of Dylan's mouth is just great.
Yeah. Oh my
Um,
god.
but then
I
you get
thought
the softer side, in this last episode that you liked with Dylan.
I don't know how am feeling about Dylan's Annie versus Audi, and then the whole thing with his wife.
Meaning you're nervous?
Yeah, it's making me sad, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it was brilliant on Lumen's part in the first few episodes to figure out how to try and ostracize each of the members of our MDR team, with Dylan with his wife and his perks that he loves. You know, Irving, they've just, completely at this point removed him. They had Mark on a goose hunt or a lamb hunt, sheep hunt. I can't even remember, with Helena. So they did a really great job of separating the MDR team. But the Dylan is tragic, seeing the Dylan and the Dylan Audi version, and Dylan's wife almost liking any Dylan more, which
Not
and getting the
almost, like,
definitely,
definitely.
yeah. Who's your favorite Audi?
Rickon.
Rickon does crack me up too.
I've been like reading Rickon quotes right here. When he goes, well, we're at the point where traditionally I would say something like dig in. But I must say, I do think that the lack of food has allowed us to already do that on a much deeper level.
They're the satire in the writing of this show is just really good. And
Well,
Rickon's being a vessel for some of the just crunchy granola stuff in the world is
yeah.
just great.
But even think about this last episode and the character development that we saw from Rickon when him and Mark's sister, whose name I am blanking on right now, Devin, thank you, are discussing, and Rickon goes from his normal goofy self to hey, think about the paycheck that comes with me doing this and what that can mean for our family. Yeah, he's selling out, but he's we need this, and that was to see a serious moment out of Rickon that wasn't this just buffoonery was really good to see, I think, and adds a lot.
Yeah, it definitely, even though I'm morally upset with Rickon for considering selling out, I think from a character development, it makes him less of a caricature because no one else in the show really feels like a character. They all feel very real. And especially Devin, Devin and Mark's dynamic as brother and sister is just so good. It is just so real.
Yes.
And for Rickon to just be kind of, the butt of the joke all the time, I absolutely love. But you're right, this last episode, it adds a deeper level to Rickon than we were previously getting, which is great. What is your favorite Rickon moment? It doesn't have to be season 2, just in general.
Could be the whole neti pot sequence.
The neti pot was really funny.
Or honestly, just it's not even a Rickon moment, but them reading Rickon's nonsense and being this is amazing.
That is where the show is just cooking when this ridiculous book he's written becomes
the gospel of the innies.
It's the Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week of Lumen.
Right?
It has just taken them over by storm, and that's just so funny. Oh God. Just
the
kills me.
UUR is his book, which is now a thing you can buy.
It's an audiobook. I think
it's
read
a real
by
book too.
By Rickon.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. They were talking about it. I don't know if you listened to the official Severance podcast that Ben Stiller and Adam Scott do, but they had Rickon on and they were talking about it. It's a great listen. They bring on, whoever was kind of the big player in that episode, or, maybe the person who does the sound. It's enjoyable. And it's also recorded before the season, and you can tell they knew what they had on their hands with season 2. There's this air of we have something great, and it's really fun to listen to in that regard.
Okay.
My favorite Audi, I think it's got to be Milchick. Everything Tramel Tillman is doing in this series is just so good. And his flip from the repressed anger at whatever MDR is doing to try and spin it into, his smiling scenes he's excellent in this series. And I am such a fan of this guy now. I love Milchick, and I'm so excited to see this character arc of where Milchick is going to go.
Dude, we were talking about him and Sidney Cole Alexander and their roles in the last 2 episodes and how they've
Is she Nat?
introduced. Yeah, she's Natalie.
Okay.
Um, how they've introduced this. They've introduced race into the show, really, and there's a lot of complex emotions. And I think just if we're talking supporting cast, Sidney Cole Alexander as Natalie has said so much with such little time on screen that I think she is going to go big places. I think she's really talented.
Yeah, her. I'm interested to see how the dynamic between those two plays out
Yeah.
because she's kind of shutting down Milchick right now in his attempts, but she's also giving him kind of the Get Out look from that movie of just like,
Yes.
you are elevating your status here, and that is not going to be a good thing. Like, leave while you can is kind of what I'm getting from Nat.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do with that because I think it's
Yeah.
really tactful, really well written, and really, um, I don't want to say thought provoking, but like I'm really curious to see what the rest of, because this is just to go on a tangent here. This world is a fictional world that's loosely based on, I'm going to call it the United States, right? But like they're in a place called Kier. Like this is like
Yeah.
a whole new thing, and they have more sovereign countries in this world. Like they add all of these little elements that let you know that this is not taking place here. It's
Yeah.
in a different universe or timeline or whatever. But it's just I'm just so curious to see how some of these things play out in this world.
Yeah. Me too. We both operate in the worlds of corporations. We work for them. We have very white collar jobs. Is there a favorite use of corporate bullshit that happens? Because I think that is
God,
a huge theme of this show, because Dan Erickson wrote this on his lunch breaks at a door factory, which is where all the Dylan Door stuff came from, where he was writing
okay.
about all the shit that he was just dealing with on a daily basis being a door salesman. And is there a favorite use of corporate BS in this show for you? Or this
The
season, you can
yeah
say.
the way they get the original MDR team excited about those stupid perks that mean finger traps, waffle parties,
Dylan
5-minute dance sessions. Like,
Dylan
come
Mulvaney.
on,
Yeah,
come on, it's ridiculous.
I know.
It's that is the worst use of the corporate BS. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I love that. I love the kind of like icebreaker game with the ball, especially opening the season when they're all like, "One, why is a child here?" And then she like reminds Mark that she's not or his friend, that she's his supervisor, Miss Huang. I'm just like, oh. But I think my favorite corporate bit of BS is Mr. Milchick's Grapschupan story that he tells in the last episode, which is just like, it's classic leadership wanting to spin what they're doing into some positive thing. And he tells the story of the Grapschupan, which
Yeah.
apparently he is totally butchering like how you actually pronounce this.
Oh, really?
And they did not know how Milchick was going to say, Tremel Tillman was going to say this when he showed up on set that day. And he just busted that out. And Adam Scott said, we literally couldn't do the take for like an hour because we just kept laughing at how he was pronouncing this. And I'm
What's
like,
the real word?
I don't know. I have no idea. But just the way he said it, it was just so funny. And it's just like, oh, it was so hilarious. I mean, it's literally Undercover Boss, like the TV show that was like big in the
Yes.
US for a while. I'm like, man, Milchick, just everything he's doing is hilarious. But you also realize through this episode during his performance review that he was trying to actually make quality of life better for MDR. against the recommendations and the wishes of Lumen, and it has
Yeah.
completely blown up in his face. And with all this stuff going on with Nat, it just, yeah, we'll save it for the discussion points. These are the least rapid fire ever of rapid fires. But
Yeah, we're just kinda in the
we
discussion,
just
let's
love
just
it.
take
Yeah.
it, because
Yeah.
here's the thing, when after the whole end of season 1,
Yeah.
they get out, right? There was a point in, I think, episode 1 or 2 where Milchek says, "I had to lock you in a room like I locked you in a room like animals. That's something I have to live with,"
Yeah.
right? Like, something along those lines, and I thought that was him. At first, I thought that was him just trying to, smooth Mark over, big Mark, I'm on your side. But the more things that happened, the more I feel like that was a legitimate feeling and a legitimate regret that he had of something he did while working for Cobell.
Yeah. 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 Milchick's journey is so interesting because you come out of season 1 and you do think he is someone who is concerned with his own status and ambition, which I think there's a part of him that is. But it seems like his journey is gonna be more complex in this show than that. And
Yes.
there may be even opening the door to, is Milchick gonna turn on Lumen at some point? Is he gonna get
Said that
so
after season 1.
is he gonna get so fed up with the bullshit there and, getting docked in his performance review for paperclip and things like that? I can't wait to see where Milkshake goes. Um, I don't know. So you said in season 1 you thought he was gonna turn?
Yeah, I think he's okay. I thought he was a mole at first, and I thought he was secretly already doing that. I think I
Yeah,
was wrong in this fact that he was already doing it. I think he is going to play a large part in helping them. And I can't tell if it's something he's going to do for the innies or the
yeah,
outies, but it's going to change everything when he does whatever it is.
yeah. I agree. Winner of episodes 1 through 5, who's your winner so far of the season?
Mm, my winner would be either am I using like actor actress names or am I
I would
using
say in the show,
characters?
like in the character.
It's either, it's for me, I have 3 winners. I don't know how to pick one. I have Helly/Helena.
Yeah.
I have Natalie, and I have Irving.
Yeah. Yeah, Irving made the big sacrifice, love Irving.
I think
Uh,
Milchek is gonna single-handedly get the award for the second 5 episodes, though.
yeah, I think he'll be the overall season winner. I mean,
Yeah.
just consistently great. Alright, some theory discussion point questions. I mean, one, I guess I wanna ask you at the start, what do you think this show is about? And or maybe more specifically, what do you think the central mystery of this season is?
One of the things I think this show is about, we've actually talked about this with Jurassic Park twice now, is the can we versus should we argument in
Yeah.
science and the ethical dilemmas that that brings up.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's a whole host of other ethical dilemmas in here, but, like, I think that's a big one
Yeah.
around the whole severed thing and the way that that plays out in society. So, I don't know if I'd say it's what the show is about, but I think it's a big piece, and I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm ready to answer what the show is about. Be It's hard because it's about relationships, it's about society, it's about pain, it's about loss, it's about so many complex feelings, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with the science
Loneliness,
answer.
I'd say too.
Loneliness.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I think as he wrote this during COVID, as I said, selling doors, which he's like, I just did not give a shit about this stupid world of selling doors.
yeah.
He was thinking a lot about work-life balance as he was writing this in like those peak, COVID years. And I think that is a big theme of this show is like you said, like tying to your Jurassic Park comp of like, can we, should we, like, how far could we take the idea of solving work-life balance? And I think that this is like the far end of the spectrum of like what could be done
Mhm.
and should we do that? is this a good
Yeah.
idea? And I think the show is playing around with some of those big themes. Where do you think this season is going of season 2 in terms of what do you think is the what do you think is going to be kind of the culmination of these storylines of the story this season is trying to tell? It's crazy that it's the show is so subversive that it's hard to know.
Helena is pregnant with any Marquez's baby, and there's going to be the conflict between Mark and Helly, and then will now be outside Mark and Helena
Mhm.
is going to be a central storyline, as well as whatever the hell Milchick's doing. I think it happens in the next 5 episodes. I think something's tipping him over the edge. And
Yeah.
that's my best guess. And there's also going to be something weird where Dylan's wife loves his Innie more than his Audi, and that's going to make me really sad. And I have no idea where the Irving Burt storyline is going.
Yeah. Yeah, the Helly
Uh,
Mark one is so interesting because at this point Mark is very hurt about the Helena Helly switch, but and there's this ticking time bomb sitting there that Helly does not know yet that her and Mark have slept together or that
Yes.
Mark slept with Helena. But also, Mark has not told anyone yet that he is reintegrated and it was like in the process of that. And that is just going to also, I think, blow up the dynamic between Helly and Mark. Because, yeah, you're wondering, like, is this the same person then that I've started to develop feelings for? Yeah. In my mind of the season, I I think the big thing we're driving towards is what is this connection between Mark, Lumen, and Gemma Miss Casey? Like what is going on between this triangle of this person who died, her husband, where they work, where she is also somehow like reanimated in the form of Miss Casey. And I think that's going to be a big thing we end on here in the finale.
Yeah. I don't think she's dead.
Yeah. You don't.
Or they cloned her. The other thing is Project Cold Harbor. Mark is mapping the 4 tempers of Miss Casey's brain, essentially, like putting her brain back together. And once he's done Cold Harbor, they can put that into Miss Casey. And then once they've proved that successful, put Miss Casey back into the world, right? And
Yeah.
then use that to bring back Kier.
So much there. I mean, because that was one of my other questions is what is Cold Harbor? I do think Cold Harbor is some sort of like regeneration program because I've been just trying to like rack my brain on. I mean, there's this question of why is Mark so important to Lumen right now? And they have iterated that he needs to finish Cold Harbor. And the only logical connection to why Mark is important is because of his wife, who is there working as Miss Casey. There's so much though that I'm like puzzling myself on of what is coincidence versus planned by Lumen. And I mean that by was Gemma, Mark's wife's death, was that a coincidence? Did she just
Ah,
die? And did Mark happen to become severed because of grief, as we've been told? And they exploited this opportunity with a severed worker to work on reintegration by reanimating his wife? Or was there something more sinister? Like, did Gemma have some involvement with Lumen before? Did Lumen kill her? Like, who knows? Like, Why was Cobell living next to Mark? And why was Mark probably placed in the house next to Cobell to keep an eye on it? Like, how long has this regeneration program involving Mark and Gemma been in the works for Lumen? I think is what I don't know yet.
It's a great question.
And I don't know. I have no idea. But I think we're going to find out what Cold Harbor means in the finale. And I do think what it means is like, it is some sort of, how do we bring Kier back to life?
Yeah.
But how we get there, I don't know. My next question for you, who's Irv talking to on the phone?
No idea. I thought it was Bert, to be honest.
Yeah.
But whoever it is, it's something to do with Irv infiltrating Lumen.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the theories from this YouTuber Think Story, who sees them all, ahead of time, is that he may be working for a rival company that's mentioned one time in the show.
Yeah.
So it could be that. I don't know. It could be something where like he knew somebody from one of the previous severed operations, and there was someone he loved, and then they took him from him and he died in the process, and now he's trying to do anything he can to like bring Lumen down, because I mean, we saw all the research he's been doing into who's their connections, all of that, and then the fact that he's staying up painting the hallway of, I forget what they call it.
Yeah.
But that dark hallway, he's with coffee and Motorhead and just painting it all night so that he falls asleep at work, and he sees that in his dreams. Is who?
Yeah, that was the finale of season 1 was amazing. And the reveal that Irv is like this military spy.
Right. Like a secret agent. Yeah.
Yeah. On the outside, when he was like the most loyal Lumen guy as an innie, was just chef's kiss stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I've been going through like the Rolodex of who this could be that he's talking to. And I'm like, okay, of known entities, could it be the Whole Mind Collective that they introduced in season 1 of this group? But I'm like, I don't know if they have the pool or the funding to be working with Irv. They seem more of just like young protesters.
Yeah.
I was like, is it a specific character we know? And I'm like, I feel like the only real options for who that could be, unless there's a huge twist and this is like Milchek or something, is Cobell. But Cobell seems really loyal to Lumen, even though she's been burned by them.
I think she is a Kier.
She's like a cult fanatic, like of this family for sure.
One of the prevailing theories is that she's an illegitimate Egan child. And that's where her comments about not being like gifted everything come from.
Yeah.
And why she would have been so involved with them from such a young age.
Yeah. That makes sense. Because I'm like, I am wondering what Cobell is up to this season.
It could be the doctor, the one who's reintegrating.
Ragabi is an option for sure. Though, you think we would have seen something with, she's taken up Petey's, former apartment in Mark's basement. I don't know. I'm thinking it could be Ragabi. The other thing I was thinking about is, could it be, I don't know her name in the show, but the woman who worked with Bert in O&D. Like, she's already seemingly was trying to slip some information to Irv on the inside. I'm like, O&D seems, they're much more than just we do paintings around Lumen. Like, yes, they seem to have a pretty important role here. And maybe she is not a severed employee. And, maybe she has been contacting Audi Irv to assist in the work that Annie Irv is doing.
Could be.
So I'm like, maybe it's her.
Could be. That's interesting.
Because I did see a theory as well that those kind of like weird twins that we saw in the Woes Hollow episode of like, the version of Mark and Dylan that were like pointing. someone was saying that those were animatronics created by O&D, because they did look fake and kind of like, so like, because what were those? Like we have no idea.
right, right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I can't wait to find out who Irv talking to on the phone. I can't wait to meet Bert's husband Fields and see who this person is.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other theories you're harboring at this moment?
No, it's just there's so many moving pieces that it's hard to come to like one theory because every time I start to, something else completely derails it.
Yeah.
And my only theories are the ones we just talked about. Milchek is going to do something to flip, and he's going to, I don't know if he's going to up the outies or the innies. I think you're right that I'm wondering if, because you know how in the intro or like the preview, they have Bert closing the door.
Yeah.
He looks like sinister in that moment, and I'm wondering what Bert is up to for real.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe Lumen's not threatening Fields like to Bert, saying like you need to get to the bottom of what Herb's doing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I have no idea.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
pissed if we have to wait 2 years for season 3, though.
Yeah, I hope not. Is there anything you would put your money on 100% happening in the finale this year?
In the finale.
In the finale. Like, I'm thinking the finale, if I were to place money on something happening, I think there is going to be a true Mark meets and speaks with Miss Casey. Like
Yeah.
somehow that'll be saved for the finale. Maybe it times up with Mark's full reintegration by that point, and he's going to finally go down to the basement room and meet Miss Casey.
Or Mark continues reintegration. They're on the severed floor. Miss Casey comes back. Milchick's there. Somebody's there. And instead of Miss Casey, he calls her Gemma.
Yeah.
And then everyone's going to be alerted
That
immediately. And then like
that it's
season
not
3
Mark S.
starts blowing up with like the aftermath of that.
Yeah. There's so much going on. I'm excited. I'm excited for the next episodes. What would you give this season so far?
What's the scale?
I don't know. We can we can stick to 25 if you want. You can give it a letter grade. I don't know.
A plus.
Yeah.
This A minus. Episode 1 was kind of slow for me. But other than that, it's been chef's kiss.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think this is I give this an A so far. I think it's going to even get better through the second half of the season, which is crazy. And I'm just so excited to spend more time with these characters, see what happens. I'm worried. I'm really worried about the Mark S. Helly dynamic because I just don't see this getting better, which is unfortunate because I really loved one of the things I did love about episode 1 was the end of the episode where MDR is all back together and they're kind of doing the 360 camera spin around the desks and they're all getting set up at their workstations and you're just like, it's like in The Hangover. We are back.
We are back.
We are back. Back, baby. Regardless, can't wait to see the rest of the season. I hope we get to see Irving B again.
I know we will.
Version.
The overtime contingency they're going to turn on, or like whatever else they have. We know the Glasgow block, the overtime contingency,
Elephant, which I'm assuming you get all your memories back. Blank slate, that one's kind of obvious. There was one other, I can't remember what it was, but it's great. Can't wait to continue. We'll probably do another bonus episode or something to, for the second half of the season, but was excited to kick around some theories. I think with that, we can wrap it up. Thanks for listening, everybody. Go watch some Severance.